Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, you could do, extra money.
The old swimming pool.
So, why don't we wait until everybody gets seated?
The cruise ships and stuff like that. It was, real touristy.
We were twice moving that.
Around. They ask is,
It's nice to see you all here.
I heard, like the road smaller.
So I'd like to call this meeting to order, please, of the Executive Committee. It is Wednesday,
Yeah.
February 8th. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Allen. Allen present. Good morning. Bates.
Herman's here.
Davist.
Davis here.
Ford.
Board present.
Gums. Gums here. Caius.
Guys present.
Kenyon.
Here.
Lewis. Lewis here. Linder.
Linder present.
Molina.
This thing.
Sanchez.
Sanchez present.
Strathman. Strathman here. Surges. Tepe.
Jeppy here.
Here.
I'm here as well. Ms. Bates, why don't you do the honor of giving us the pledge, please?
Let's do the flag of the United States of America. And to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and
Really have to do the first three. Yeah.
May I please have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from January 4th meeting?
Guys.
Mr. Bruce.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Are there any changes, edits to the minutes? Seeing none.
Allen. Allen. Bates.
Bates, yes.
Berman.
Herman, yes.
Davist.
Davis, yes.
Board, yes.
Gums.
Gums, yes.
Guys, yes.
Kenyon.
Yes.
Lewis.
Lewis, yes.
Linder.
Linder, yes.
Sanchez.
Sanchez, yes.
Strathman.
Strathman, yes.
Surges.
Yes.
Tepe.
Jeppy, yes.
Here.
Here. We're going to have a public comment by a speaker who's going to be talking about the decrease in food stamps or SNAP benefits that's going to occur at the end of this month. It'll be no more than 5 minutes. It is not on agenda, so I ask for your liberty on this and understanding. I want you to be aware that because of the end of the COVID crisis that's going to be ending here, expiring on May 11th, the food stamps, so however, except for college students, will be ending at the end of February. And the deduction for a family who's receiving it, I believe, can go anywhere from $95 to $250. Now, with the current crisis that's happening with the cost of food, inflation, we all know about eggs. Eggs are in the news all the time because of the bird flu. This is going to put a particular heavy lift upon our already stressed food pantries and food banks. So if I could bring up Michael Montgomery from Greater Elgin.
Food for Greater Elgin.
Food for Greater Elgin.
Food for, there you go. That's the one. Thank you, Michael. And no more than 5 minutes, please.
5 minutes. All right. Thank you. Make sure I use this. Yes. First, let's play calendar so you see what's coming at us this month, this year. In January, Social Security rates went up for seniors. That was good news, but it also meant that SNAP benefits for seniors dropped. because of their change in income. We heard squawks. In March, the 15% enhanced allotment due to COVID is going to go away. That's going to be a dramatic drop for some families. The minimum SNAP benefits under this allotment were $281 if you qualified. It's now dropping to $23. The average family, I'm sorry?
Repeat those numbers.
The minimum benefit for people eligible for SNAP drops from $281 to $23.
My God.
Well, high, up to 23. Okay, short microphone.
I heard you right the first time.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
And then for the average family, it will drop from $740 to $586. Now, that's a substantial drop when you're using it to buy your groceries. Then in May, the big kicker comes because all families must be recertified by that time. And there will be families currently receiving SNAP benefits who either will not have been able to work through that process or will have their benefits taken away because their income has increased. So just for background, SNAP benefits are based on 165% of the US federal poverty level. You're eligible to come to an area food pantry if you have 185% of the federal poverty level. That's because of the emergency food program that the federal government sets for us. And so observations on this, there's what we call a SNAP gap between your eligibility for SNAP and the amount of money that the feds think you really need in order to provide food for a family. Food pantries have a legal and moral requirement to serve any Illinois resident who comes to them who fits the income criteria. We have to feed them at least once if they're in our geographic area. And with the benefits being cut, the state has very helpfully and truthfully alerted people that they need to seek out their local food pantries for additional assistance. Therein is a problem. Here's what we look at in terms of increased call on food pantries for need. I'm comparing Aurora Interfaith Pantry, ourselves, and then the rest of the Northern Illinois food banks, food pantries in Kane County. And you see from 2021, we had a dip in 2022, and then a shot upwards last year. And we went from 83,000 families served, individuals served, up to 130,000 families served in 2022. And that you see all across the board throughout the county. In January, those trends continued. We were averaging 400 families a week in 2021. That increased to 700 families a week in 2022. In January, we were up to 800 families a week. And in the first week of February, we're going to pass 900 families coming through our doors. So this trend is not reducing for ourselves or anyone else. How we're coping with this is begging for money, trying to fundraise as best we can, and we have to cut benefits. A number of pantries have reduced the area of people whom they serve, or they've had to cut eggs, or we can't afford $5 dozen eggs, even though they're a great source of food for people. There are also pantries that are dairy-free because they can't afford to buy milk. And we will take that up. My board will discuss that this Friday because it's $3,000 a month that we're spending on milk, even with the various benefit packages that we have. The soaring food pantry food costs affect us as well. We're not getting as much free stuff as we used to get. We spent $19,000 to buy food in 2019. That's up to $200,000 in this fiscal year, 2023. So we need some help. the ARPA funding that was given by the ARPA committee to the Northern Illinois Food Bank for supplementary grants to local Kane County food pantries is very generous. It helped us cut our food costs from 27,000 to 8,000 between December and January. But it's also going to go away probably by the end of March. And the request that the food pantries have made for additional funding, over $3 million for 3 years, is really very much needed. And we've requested that to come out of ARPA funding, whatever you want to. So if you have questions.
We cannot accept questions at this point, Michael.
All right.
but, Thank you very much for the presentation. We really appreciate getting updated on this important matter, the actually critical matter for the people of Kane County. All right, Mr. Onsick, you're next, please.
Good morning, everyone. I just have a few highlights that are taken from the Finance Committee report. And I believe probably Erica already mentioned some at the committee itself. But if you remember, there were several pages of budget variances from 2022 fiscal year end, and those are all preliminary figures. Some of them are very minor, but they all need to be taken care of. And we'll be putting together a budget adjustment that will address all of those items, I think, for next month's Finance Committee. Our contingency account balance within the general fund is almost entirely still intact as we end the year of fiscal year 2022. We started with $1 million and we still have over 900,000. So that's certainly good news in terms of how things were budgeted for the year. I think it may have been mentioned that the end of the year, fiscal year 2022, results in terms of the shared and direct state tax revenues were very good, and we were seeing that trend all through the year. So the final figures show that we came in $13 million over budget in terms of sales tax, local use tax, state income tax, and personal property replacement tax. And we were also $8.5 million more than prior year. And as we've mentioned along the way, because we saw that trend, that is already built in to this year's budget. The audit for fiscal year 2022, the preliminary audit was completed, and based on that assessment, that preliminary assessment, the auditors are able to plan out the details for the final audit fieldwork, which will begin on March 6th and go through the full month of March. And usually there's lingering items that take us into April as well. So that's where most of our time is now focused, is on continuing to prepare all the accruals and reconciliations and audit schedules, excuse me, for the audit. I did send out a communication yesterday to the board. It was just regarding that one resolution that's coming up on the agenda for the ARPA budget adjustment. It seemed that there was some confusion or questions, concerns that were raised at the committee because there was a discrepancy between the amount of budget adjustment that was being requested and the total amount of new invoices that were being approved. And so I just wanted to provide that explanation to you, because I was just trying to anticipate if I were a board member, what would I want to see? And so I think just being told that, oh, well, we're over budget by that almost $6,000 amount probably is not sufficient. So I thought by providing a list of all the actual invoices and then showing you the actual budget adjustments that were made, and then that difference, that's in total is what accounts for that additional amount that we're requesting in that amendment. And I think ultimately it's because the original budget for the ARPA fund was truly an estimate, because it was done at the beginning of the year. And so as the year progressed, it was not, the actual expenses were different than the estimate. And I don't think it came to light as soon as it should have, only because it just so happened one of the invoices that had been approved for payment had not actually been paid. And so even though it was approved, it was not showing up in the actual expenses. And so when you compare budget to actual expenses, it looked like there was more than enough budget available, when in actuality, that additional invoice that had not yet been paid was what was going to push it over budget. So I think that that led to it not being noticed until this point in time. So hopefully that'll make sense, and can certainly ask questions when we get to that amendment or a resolution on the agenda.
Well, actually, I think I have a question. Why wasn't it paid?
That I can't answer. I'm not involved in that process.
When we get, if,
Peter's raising.
oh, well, Peter can present when we get to that point with the resolution.
Mr. Phillips.
Anything else? Go ahead, please.
Oh, that's all I have.
That's all.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Okay, very good. Thank you, Joe. Okay, our public information officer, please.
Good morning. The information that the Public Information Office has shared with Kane County, Michael Isaacson's invite to the State of the Union free CPR training at the Sheriff's Office, which I accompanied Madam Chair when she participated in that, was encouraging other county board members to take the free CPR training. The Kane County Water Sustainability Plan, the Kane County IRIS Program, the Adopt a Highway, Kane County's Climate Action Survey, Animal Control's new schedule for their vaccine and microchip clinic, the Sheriff's Blood Drive, and a lot more. We did get 800 people clicking, Kane County Connects subscribers clicking on the homestead exemption article that we wrote, and nearly 1,400 clicked on the obsolete media recycling pilot program. We have a continued rate of about 44% opening the newsletter. We did get a nice compliment from time to time. We do. I wanted to share. Just wanted to say thank you for Kane County Connects. I wish I had known about it a long time ago. Most of the articles are useful and interesting to me, and I think it's overall a great newsletter, and I look forward to receiving it. Woman in Aurora. So my office outside of the newsletter and pushing out public information, we're working to hold a meeting of all the communication managers and public information officers in Kane County to collaborate. Specifically, we want to talk about an emergency plan so we all know who to contact if an emergency comes up. And I'm still looking for profile submissions from each county board member. Cheryl was nice enough to give me one, and it's on her profile if you'd like to go look at it. It was nicely done, shares a lot about herself and how she enjoys being a county board member and what her leadership looks like. I can take any questions.
Well, I just have one comment regarding the CPR training. I would urge all of you, if you have not yet been certified, to do it, please. It's about a 3-4 hour training, not at all boring, incredibly interesting, as well as very physical. Trying to resuscitate somebody for 3 minutes is quite a workout. So it's, I was very surprised at that, at the effort of doing it. But I would completely encourage all of you to do it. The instructors are excellent, and I think you'd enjoy it. And if you'd like to go as a team, then I'm sure that we can accommodate your schedule, and we can have the sheriff's office talk to them, and being able to be flexible with that so that you can all participate perhaps together, which I think would be fantastic, or at your convenience. Absolutely.
Who would we contact?
You can contact Julie, and she'll make all the arrangements for you.
I'm going tomorrow, Mavis.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions from this man? No, thank you. Is there any old business? None? Any new business? Yes, Cheryl.
Madam Chair, I talked to the Extension Office yesterday about their 4-H participation, 4-H Government Day that's coming up. And when I talked to her, I was excited. I did this last year, and I know many of us did it last year, and it was great fun. They've only had 3 people respond on the board. And so for those of you who are new, the youngsters come and they shadow us, and they're all enthusiastic and just wide-eyed and full of wonder, and they really enjoy the day. And so far, Mr. Kenyon and Ms. Lewis and myself are the only three who have signed up. And, and so she asked me when I talked to her yesterday to please ask people to call her. We did get a letter in our mailboxes, and it's at, her name is, I can give you her name and her number right now. Her name is Andrea Ferrier. She's the 4-H coordinator, and her phone number is 630-584-6166, extension 13. And it's the end of March, and it's a great day.
Oh, very good. Yes.
Madam Chair Surges, last year, we really jammed those kids up on a meeting that it was overflowing. And I don't think we gave all that we could have to these young people. If we could just be a little conscious of how we're doing that, that would be
Oh,
spectacular.
so we'll have a gentle March meeting.
Yes, that would be wonderful. So just a reminder, because I really felt like, I think we went to executive session for like,
Good.
3.5 hours or something,
Like a lamb.
The last year was an interesting year. We had much on our plates.
But please give her a call.
Okay, I know we have an item that we will be talking about. Are there any other non-item new businesses that we need to talk to?
Madam Chair
Yes.
Gums, I don't know if this is the appropriate time, but throughout Aurora, we're doing community group sessions. We're talking about social well-being and mental health issues, substance abuse. And we would like to coordinate with our health department for King County to host one of these events. They're catching like wildfire. So that's something that I actually spoke to Madam Chair about yesterday. We're going to try and coordinate that so that Julie can get on board and push that out. But the neighborhoods are extremely grateful for those. And it's essentially, it's just a conversation. But if King County can get ahead of this instead of it being other agencies, I think that would be huge for us. So we're going to make that happen.
And we have so many good subject experts in that with working with the
Yes,
health department.
Yes, and we have the health department, so AID is also involved, your local agency, whether it be Elgin or Aurora or whoever. Law enforcement will be included in that. The social, the CIT or CIU units, critical incident units are there. Our pre-arrest, what's called something different now. That group is there. Our state's attorney is there. Our sheriff is there. I do have very personal testimony about my experiences, and having these conversations is really going over well, and it's getting people to talk and having the information available to them so they know they can come to Kane County. And I think we should lead the way in hosting something like this. So
Very good.
we'll make that happen.
Wonderful. I think we can work with the health department and make that happen.
Yes.
Excellent. Anything else? All right. Nothing else. I'd like to turn this over conversation now to Mr. Iqbal, and he can present the amendment of Kane County Code Section 2-53.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. As you recall, last year, before the election, you asked us to look at Section 2-48, which is the county code pertaining to the committees and the board work. At that time, excuse me, I was serving at the Human Services Committee under the guidance of Honorable Mr. Surges, and I wrote a draft. I redlined 2-48, and then there was an issue. What is the status, or what are the rules governing ad hoc committees? And there was no text in there. So I drafted a small paragraph and put it under 2-53 proposed, it was circulated. I recall I had a discussion with some board members. It was a little bit heated one. Since then, it just sat there until you called me and asked to serve on a committee, ad hoc committee for the Open Meetings Act. At that time, we revisited this thing. And this draft, you reviewed it. It was sent to state attorney's office. And then you added some more language to it. It was edited more. And this is the version we have at this point to be included in the county code. And it addresses the working of an ad hoc committee. Ad hoc committee, by definition, is a very temporary committee. It is subservient. It's not a standing committee. It's not a subcommittee of a standing committee. It is lower. It's to do a small job, very short term, so that the board can benefit. It does not make any big decision. It just brings the facts over to the board. And that's what the text is. And it's, I believe it is in the agenda. I don't know.
It is in the agenda here. If it isn't, is it included in here? Can we pull it up, the draft? It's not included in that. So if you want to just go ahead with the explanation and we can include it, we can send it to the board for their review and then we can discuss it at next week's board meeting
Okay.
more fully.
Any question for me?
So what, as was mentioned, as an explanation, we've talked about this before at the board, that an ad hoc committee is a temporary committee that has a specific task to do, whether it's to solve a problem or bring information to either to the full board, as this would be the case, or to the committee that they have been charged to give the complete information to, so that the committee as a whole can make a decision. It's like a little task force that goes out. Some of our ad hoc committees have been extended for a long period of time. And what the proposal would be after your consideration of this would not to suspend any of the leadership of those existing ad hoc committees that have been longstanding, but rather make that a subcommittee of a standing committee so that that opportunity can float up appropriately. We've got one, and I'm not, I've talked to Jared about this. The ARPA committee is one of those, which has been established as an ad hoc committee. But truly, this committee is going to last for 5 years, which is not, when you look at Robert's rules, it's not truly an ad hoc committee. There'd be no change in leadership of this committee at all, but instead it would be formally more of a subcommittee. Perhaps of finance, but that's yet to be determined. And allowing then also the opportunity, if there is staff, sometimes ad hoc committees don't necessarily have staff representation. They can be working with the staff, but sometimes a committee can reference itself, working with the state's attorney to make recommendation. If there is a staff member, that individual would be supervised by a department head. So that's basically the format that it would be taking. Yes, Mr. Surges.
Surges, Mo, if I remember right, your questions were, and I might be wrong, I'm not trying to stir the pot. Your questions were specific as to how and when an ad hoc is formed and for what purpose.
Correct
is
that.
fundamentally solid? And I don't know that I've heard that answer yet. I've heard lots of logistics, but I've not heard, because I believe my response to you at that time was, when is something so urgent that it needs to be removed from a committee to go to an ad hoc committee or a subcommittee? Why can't the committee just work on it within themselves, which might be timing? It might be expeditious. It might, might be, there might be other members of our council that have product knowledge or expertise that we want to include. I just want to make sure that we're not skirting what your question was originally, which was how and why is it needed? And make sure that that answer came to you.
That is one of the thing in the draft, that it will not duplicate the effort or the areas in which the standing committees exist and work. It is something outside that. So it's not the purpose that ad hoc committee does the same thing that your committee or any other committee or does. I mean, if a job or task is pertaining to the area in which one subcommittee is working, a committee is working, they can form a subcommittee. The chairman has all the authority, but it is something more that the board chairman can form a committee. It is her power. It's not
A
duplication.
specific task that would have to happen, that would be outside the general realm of one of the standing committees. Yes, Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mo, I'm wondering how much Robert's Rules of Orders was referenced in this, because at least in the county code for us, if it's not specifically outlined by us, it assumes that Robert's Rules is the rule that we are going under. And it does provide the causes for special committees to be formed. An ad hoc committee is a special committee. One of those is to do research. Another is to carry out a specific task. Like if we're going to build a building, we can have an ad hoc committee that oversees that process. There is no time limit on how long an ad hoc committee can exist under Robert's Rules of Order. It's specifically to carry out a certain function. So if the research or recommendation takes 5 years, like with ARPA, that's how long the committee exists at its final report. I forgot the term, but it gives a final report, which then ends the ad hoc committee. So the county board is the overseer of the ARPA committee as it is now. That's who formed the ARPA committee, was the county board, which is one of the powers that we have. So again, what is the actual problem we're trying to solve? Because if it's, what is the definition of an ad hoc committee? We have that in the Robert's Rules of Order.
The Robert's rules are incorporated in the draft. One thing the Robert rule does is doesn't talk about the timings. How long is the duration of that committee? The suggested time is 1 year. If it's more than 1 year, the board has to act on it, either prolong it or make it a subcommittee of another standing committee.
Is that in Robert's Rules of Orders, or that's your?
No, this is
recommendation?
the recommendation.
Okay.
Recommendation.
The Roberts rule doesn't talk about time. It says it's a short-term committee. Okay.
And-
As to coming to the ARPA, everyone has their own opinion. My suggestion is that ARPA is not the first time we are getting a grant. It was CAC, and then it became ARPA, and then it would be something else. The board has to look at a framework. How do we deal with these grants? And these grants would be coming. This would not be the end of grants. So we have to look at a framework. Should there be a grants committee, and which will be ARPA, doing the ARPA work, and then after ARPA, there's another work.
And that was something that was discussed last year as well. I think it was a community investment committee or something. I'm not sure if that was the correct title, but was something like that, where we specifically talked about putting such committees under the auspices of that to fully manage it, to get a good understanding of it. And it is, I want to assure the ARP committee and other committees that would be considered ad hoc. This is in no way to take away the authority or the responsibility and the work of that. It's just finding an appropriate home for it that is not of significant length, negating the importance of those committees. Because the ARPA committee is critically important, as the CAC committee was as well. That these are longstanding committees that use staff, use our state's attorney. They're not discrete committees to resolve a specific issue that brings that to the board or to the whole for consideration and then implementation. These are working solid committees that last a long period of time. So that's the thought behind this. Yes, Ms. Strathman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Strathman here. I think I object to the word temporary. To me, that is, some of our ad hoc committees are seasonal and they're repeating. And I think-
Microphone, please.
Pardon me?
Microphone. I can't quite.
Sorry. I object to the word temporary. I think that in the description of an ad hoc committee being temporary, I think there might be a better word. I'm at a loss right now to suggest a different word, but some of the ad hoc committees are seasonal or repeating, and temporary, I think, diminishes the definition.
All right.
Davis for the comment.
We have, hold on, Mr. Davis. Yes, Ms. Bates.
I appreciate your comment, Madam Chair, about the authority of the committees. And yet it does seem to me that by making a committee such as ARP, the ARPA committee, a subcommittee of finance would possibly be diminishing the autonomy of the committee. It's changing the reporting structure and possibly even introducing some delays. As we all know, we have to step our ordinances or resolutions through a committee structure. And, so would we be introducing delays? And as far as a grants committee, I don't like that idea because I'm involved with things like water resources grants or CEJA grants or IRA grants or BIL, bipartisan infrastructure law grants that could be affecting the environment, the water, recycling. I don't want to see one grant committee overseeing all these different kind of grants. I don't think they can have the expertise needed.
There would be no argument with that because each department is authorized to achieve their own grants. I know we have transportation here represented. I don't think that any of us have the expertise, one, either to apply for any of those grants or to acknowledge the work of that. That is not the job of the board. The board is fiscally responsible to making sure that those grants are well stewarded, but not the implementation of, nor the creation of. But we do have a problem, and I'll be frank with this, and note again, absolutely no disrespect to any of our committees, is that none of us as board members have direct authority for staff management. We cannot authorize staff management. That is not our position to do that.
What do you mean staff management? What is?
The day-to-day operations. That is not our responsibility. We have to stay higher than that. Remember, we oversight is what our responsibility is. And I want to make sure that that is the case with all of our staff. That department heads and those people who work very importantly with department heads are given that autonomy that they can speak to their concerns, their needs through the staff line. And then the department head can advocate to their chair, committee chair, and or to their committee and or to the chair of the board. So that is a concern that we should really carefully address.
I
Yes.
think Davis was
Davis
on there.
was
Mr. Davis, you're next, please.
Oh, thank you. We've we've kind of gone a couple of different directions here, but my colleague, Mr. Iqbal, has a wonderful eye for detail and will follow up with great effort. But as Mr. Sanchez pointed out, I guess I was trying to keep track of what was the problem we were trying to solve. I hear reference to, being concerned that if we say something's temporary, that it lacks gravitas or something, and that's not the case. The term ad hoc, and not a student of Latin, but I believe in essence is something about for the duration. So, as Jarrett said, you have a specific task at hand, which is the reason for having the ad hoc committee, and it lasts for however long it takes to accomplish that task. And then you have a final report and that ends the committee. In answer to Mo's question about, well, how long does it, should it be there? I kind of lost track of what the problem was we were trying to solve, and the issue you were just discussing, Madam Chair, seemed to be a separate one. So those were just my thoughts on the ad hoc part.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Yes,
But Mr. Caius,
Mr. Caius.
yeah, thank you, Mr. Davis. I'll repeat what Davis said so that we can keep repeating things here. What is the problem? Is there a serious problem we're trying to address here? We've just chewed up about a half an hour worth of our time on this in an executive meeting where we've got a lot of other things to do. This seems to me to be a problem, a solution in search of a problem. I haven't seen the problem that we've had. So if we can, is there a problem that we're addressing with identifying what an ad hoc committee is or why we're spending so much time on this?
Yes, I think I've addressed that already, but.
I'm sorry, I do have a question. Then
Oh,
I don't
yes.
understand what you're saying, that there is a problem.
Strongly believe, and I've been talking to our state's attorney or civil division, not specifically Jamie Mosser, that it is not the responsibility of board members to have direct supervision over a staff member. And I brought this up before, that we have oversight of them. But having direct day-to-day supervision of looking at task is not the job of the board. That we need to step up and be a different level to see the big picture rather than the day-to-day application.
Then who's?
We have no legitimate authority in that area. You are there part-time. And you cannot, by a board member, have that kind of close, intimate relationship with a staff member. And by having somebody, a department head, who, whatever department head it may be, and again, this is absolutely no disrespect to anybody, but having that opportunity to have supervision so that that staff member who's not a department head will have a department head seeking advice and counsel from another individual and not a board member on process procedure for the county, I think is critically important. And since the ad hoc committee does not, we have a special individual who has been hired under a grant-funded application for this opportunity to manage ARP, not to have that guidance given, formal guidance under somebody who is got expertise in financial management, I think is a misstep.
So are you saying they should be under a department head?
Absolutely, absolutely. Which is the reason why an ad hoc committee may have staff support, somebody to take the minutes, to take the notes, but does not necessarily, except with the work of the state's attorney, civil divisions usually will have that formal guidance for us. So that is the reason. I think, I see your hand, but I think Ms. Gomes.
I just, I feel like I'm on that hamster wheel again. My opinion is there are clearly defined definitions of ad hoc committees and subcommittees. The difference being there's a timeline and there's not a timeline. I think we're getting too far in the weeds on this topic. Seems like there's two different issues here. I don't know that one will solve that issue by switching from an ad hoc to a sub. I'm not seeing that in my brain right now, but further discussion on that maybe at a different time would be better, because I think right now what we're discussing is ad hoc and sub, which are clearly defined.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, I
clearly
mean,
defined.
I haven't Googled it, but an ad hoc is simply got a specific intent with a specific time. Yeah, right. And subcommittee has a panel and a different intent with no timeline. So that's my 2 cents on it. I just feel like we're spinning our wheels here on this conversation.
Yes.
I might just
Mr.
add one more.
Sanchez, absolutely.
Just to wrap this up, I'll just say, this is a problem that would be solved if we had a county administrator. I'll leave it at that.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, dream on.
I think the solution, and obviously, I'm a big fan of having a county administrator, and I agree with you. But this could be an appropriate solution, I truly believe, to solve this issue. And why don't we have 2 more comments and then move forward?
Louis, I just wanted to clarify. So we will be getting from your office, from Mo,
Correct.
the actual language of this so that we can kind of read it and
Absolutely.
kind of, take a step back on
Okay.
all this. Thank you.
Yes.
Surges, thank you again. Just 3 comments because I think we did wander on this. The first one, since this is my 5th year here, I have been unclear since the beginning as to the hierarchy of who a department head actually interacts and responds to. I was under the original notion that a department head and a committee chair are kind of, that's the report. Then it was the chairman, then it was and there's, I would love to say there's never been an issue. However, on my second point here, we have had problems with department heads, and it was very unclear as to how that was supposed to be addressed. And I think we did an excellent job of it, but I might suggest that maybe we wouldn't have had the problem if those guidelines or those direct reports were a little bit clearer. And then finally, I'm not sure, are we trying to draw a correlation here to say that resolution to this might be that an ad hoc committee becomes the direct report of the department head? Because if that's what I'm hearing, I'm not
No,
comfortable with that.
No.
Okay, I'm just like, is that where this is wiggling to?
No, not at all. not
Okay,
at all.
got it. Thank you so much.
It's simply the staff make sure that, with all due respect to this unusual opportunity with this significant amount of money that the board is managing and the ad hoc committee is recommending, that we have a staff member who does not have a department head to report to, because it is not a department, it is a committee. And that is the issue. And setting policy on how we would manage that, given that there may be future grants available, significant grants that may be coming through from the federal government or from the state. And we form a special committee that is an ad hoc. How do we manage the staff to make sure that we give them the supports and needs, whatever they need, and have that direct report available for them, so they know that they're chain of command. So with that, thank you very much for allowing this conversation to happen. It's something that I've spoke about before, and I do believe that we have to really consider steps for this. And again, with absolutely no respect to the hard work that has been done with Mr. Sanchez, Mr. Phillips, as well as the ARP committee, and no disrespect, or to the Grand Victoria Fund as well, the Riverboat funds. All right, we have next steps. American Rescue Plan is the first one on the docket for our preliminary board meeting, or the agenda for the board meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sanchez here. I move and ask for a second for a resolution approving invoices from Ernst & Young LLP for professional services rendered for Kane County ARP program from 8/1/22 to 11/30/22.
Bates moves.
Eight seconds. Just for those who are on the committee or at the meeting, there were the attachments for the invoices were mistakenly left out. So those are in the agenda packet if you haven't viewed them already, and it includes the invoice themselves with the narrative of the work that was included for that month.
Questions?
Mr. Seppi.
Yes, Mr. Tapp.
Have they not exceeded the budgeted amount for this?
No, not yet. There's a chart also that is attached that will show you where we're at in total.
Well, isn't it very close to the budgeted amount though?
We're getting there, which is why we'll be discussing it at the next ARP meeting.
It's what, $219,000? I'm reading the chart
I
correctly.
believe so, yes. That is what's remaining.
Mhm.
Which is a few months at the rate we're going currently. We're not right there, but we're going to be bringing it up at the next meeting.
And you did approve additional staff from Ernst and Young. We did that at a previous meeting
Yes.
to expedite
Mhm,
the reporting.
mhm. And that's going well.
Oh, good, good, good.
Any other questions?
Okay, hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Alan? Alan, I.
Yes.
Berman?
Yes.
Davis?
Davis, yes.
Ford?
Ford, yes.
Gums? Caius?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Lewis?
Lewis, yes.
Linder?
Yes.
Sanchez?
Sanchez, yes.
Strathman?
Yes.
Surges? Pepe?
Deputy President.
Passes.
Be present?
That's correct.
Yes, he is.
Mhm, correct. Mr. Berman.
Yes. Finance. We have 15 resolutions. 15. I move that we approve the consent agenda for finance.
Gums will second.
I think we need to read through them.
You like me to go through them?
Yes,
Fine.
please.
All right. Item 1 is a resolution authorizing acceptance of a DCEO RISE grant and related fiscal year 23 budget adjustment for $150,000. Item 2, a resolution authorizing a budget amendment for fiscal year 23 NACCHO EPED grant of $300,000. Item 3, a resolution authorizing fiscal year 2022 and fiscal year 2023 rollover. The Juvenile Justice Center laundry equipment for $18,908. Item 4, a resolution amending the fiscal year 22 budget adjustment approved with a resolution 22-446 to reflect the adjustment to the proper account in Fund 355 for $1 million. Item 5, a resolution authorizing contract for mental health services for the Juvenile Justice Center staff, $9,900. Item 6, a resolution approving the purchase of 16 replacement vehicles for the sheriff's office and approving a rollover of fiscal year 22 sheriff office new vehicle fund balance of $715,920. Item 7, a resolution approving the purchase of 1 replacement vehicle for the Kane County Sheriff's Office of $52,301. Item 8, a resolution authorizing an addendum to the intergovernmental agreement between the County of Kendall and the County of Kane to provide juvenile detention services for $175 a day per minor. Item 9 is a resolution authorizing an updated contract for food, laundry, and commissary services at the Kane County Adult Justice Center, $1,014,977.40. Item 10, a resolution, excuse me, approving contracts for court-appointed counsel of $200,000. Item 11, a resolution authorization of a contract for the Kane County HVAC maintenance and repair service where 5 companies are on call and the estimated expense is $1 million. Item 12, a resolution authorizing wireless and data services contract with Cellco Partnerships doing business as Verizon Wireless for $420,000. Item 13, a resolution authorizing a contract for the Mill Creek SSA snow plowing of $80,000. And item 14, a resolution authorizing the Child Protection Data Courts grant of $4,150. And finally, item 15, a resolution approving our December 2022 claims paid of $12,552,028.09. I ask for approval.
Any questions on this? Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Allen,
Allen, I.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Kenyon,
Yeah.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Tepe,
Deputy, yes.
passes.
Very good. Mr. Sturgis.
Madam Chair, Human Services has two items in front of us today. The first one is amending the insurance benefits policy in the personnel handbook. We're trying to respond to some of the equity studies that we had, and in our hiring practices, we were finding that our delay in offering health insurance to new hires was maybe a little out of date and antiquated and causing some issues. So we're just changing our personnel policy to say that the insurance is available on the first day after 30 days of continuous employment. The second item is adopting a personal relationships policy. In committee, we have been ping-ponging this one back and forth a little bit. All it does is introduce the word romantic. If an employee is to be in a romantic relationship with another employee, they need to disclose that to their supervisor. I think it's pretty straightforward and speaks for itself. So I'm requesting a motion and a second to move these two items forward.
Linder moves.
Thank you. Mr. Linder moves.
Sanchez seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Are there any questions on this? One clarification that comes to mind regarding the personal relationship policy. Is that impacting our own ethics code? So if one of the board members has developed a friendship that deepens a little bit with a staff member, do we have to account for that as well?
Jamie is not here today, but Christine is sitting in, and I believe that is absolutely correct.
Okay.
We are employees that collect paychecks as well, so we are
Absolutely.
not exempt from that.
Okay. So
Madam Chair,
Valentine's Day is coming up, so mind your hearts.
Tell your boss.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Romance
for the
month.
discussion, board member is not an employee. A board member is an employer. So that's one, that's based on the court decision, not mine. I have a lot of questions on this romantic policy. I believe it is unconstitutional. When it was being discussed at the committee, I was there and I opposed it. I don't think last time when it went to the committee and it was brought up here, the vote was not taken. It was simply brought up to this committee. We are making a policy which does not conform to the federal rules. If it tells me if it conforms to Title 7 or Title 29, I would like to know how. You put a burden on one person and not on the other. Relationship is two people, at least two people. These days, at least right now, in these days, it's more than two people.
That's enough, that's enough.
So, they could all be employees, not one. So, this romantic policy, I think, is nothing. I think it's illegal, it's unconstitutional, and we should not adopt it. And there are many ways. If somebody is sexually harassing another employee, there are ways to handle it, and I think the board has been doing that. So that's my 2 cents.
Yes, Ms. Bates.
Thank you, Mr. Iqbal. I think you're making a lot of sense.
Mike, please.
Thank you, Mr. Iqbal, for your comments. I don't know, is romantic a legal term? That, I mean, that seems so vague to me that I can't believe there's a legal definition of romance.
It's identified as
Ms. Bates, I
personal.
believe that came from the state's attorney's office. And that's the term that they recommended.
Okay, thank
I,
you.
I won't support or condemn. I will simply say that that was the word that came from the state's attorney's office that vetted this, completely, and this is what we're moving
Okay,
forward.
all right, thank you.
Happy to take it back to committee, happy to move it forward. I'm not advocating for it. I'm simply saying that as a board, I think we're all vibrantly aware of some of the challenges that we've had. And this is the first attempt that we're trying to do to make sure that we have something in place. I'm sure that many years from now, people will look back and say, what an antiquated choice that was, but at the time we're doing it today, this is what we have available. So.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Strathman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will not be supporting this. To me, whether romantic is a legal term or not, what constitutes romantic? One date or a sexual relationship? I think it's too obscure, and I will not be supporting this. And to me, it's personal. We should have a separation of their personal lives and the employees. We should not, I will not be stepping into this arena. I will not support this.
Again, comment on this. This is not saying that that you can't have a romantic relationship. It's simply saying that there is a responsibility to report it to your department head. Just-
Thank you for that,
Yeah.
but it does not change my mind. If you have one date, is that considered romantic? I mean, I don't think romantic is definable in this situation. And I will not support this. And I don't think, if you have one date and you say, oh, I'm dating so-and-so, people being people, that'll go like wildfire. And you have one date and you find out, it wasn't so great. Then what happens? This, I will not be supporting this.
Davis to the comment.
Mr. Davis. Yes.
Gums here. I just, my 2 cents on it, Mr. Iqbal or Dr. Iqbal brought up the constitutionality of it. So when it comes to federal issues, there is a duty, I believe, to report supervisory and subordinate issues. There is some language that addresses that. And there are certainly employers that can have language in their handbooks that address these. However, I don't support this either. And I think it's very vague and intrusive, frankly. And again, if there is an issue, there's sexual harassment or something comes of it, we do have the ability to address that without having to add something in the handbook. Maybe, obviously, we're going to have further discussion on this, but that's kind of my 2 cents. There are already, things in place for us to address this.
Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Davis. I think the points that Mr. Iqbal, Dr. Iqbal has raised indicates that this is not ripe for a vote. The last thing we want to do is to move forward with something that results in legal expense to us because it gets tested. I would suggest that we let this go back to the state's attorney's office for further review before bringing it, to us for a vote.
Thank you, Mr. Kenyon.
I was under the same opinion. It's not ready. It should go back to committee and be discussed.
So
Committee would love to just shoot it right back to the state's attorney's
Right.
office. Don't come to us, go right back to them first.
That was
You've
my
been juggling
suggestion.
this for 2 years. Are you kidding me? Go.
And I believe that the issues that have come up are not related to two individuals who may be working for different departments within the county. It's similar departments in a supervisory position is what the concerns are. So why don't we table this for further discussion? But we'll have to, we need a vote on both of your resolutions.
Well, let's vote on the 30-day health insurance one and let's table the second one.
Yeah, so we just have to amend the motion in the
Yeah, amend the
second.
motions.
I seconded. I forgot who motioned. Was it Gums?
Who was the second?
Linder and then
The
Sanchez.
original to move both was Linder and Sanchez.
Linder. So, Mr. Linder, could you rephrase your motion?
So if
I
I'm,
assume we want two motions, right?
Correct.
Okay, so I move the first, the 30-day insurance.
Okay, and
In the
second.
second as well.
All right, let's take a vote on that, please.
Allen,
Allen, I.
Bates,
Yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Gums,
Gums, yes.
Guys,
Caius,
yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Surges,
Burgess, yes.
and Tepe.
Yes.
Passes.
Mr. Linder?
Yeah, move to table the relationship.
Surges seconds.
Point of order.
Or refer it back to committee.
Yeah, table to committee.
Yeah, tables probably kills it. Let's refer it back to committee.
Okay, very good.
Thanks, Jared.
Second,
That's
Mr. Sanchez seconds. Discussion?
Discussion, thank you. I would like to see this come back to us with a little bit more on the purpose. Is this in case of nepotism? Is it, giving jobs to people who aren't qualified? Is it prevention of sexual harassment? This is another solution in search of a problem in my mind.
Oh,
I'm
I-
not sure what it is.
Yeah, Mavis,
the
I could
problem
not
is.
disagree more. There are specific reasons, and I think all of the above category would be very appropriate here. But again, I think we're stepping into state's attorney realm, not committee realm.
Thank you.
And let's let them respond. So.
Let Sybil respond back
Yep.
to us, please.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments on this? If not, clerk, please call the roll.
Allen,
Allen,
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Gums,
Gums, yes.
Caius,
Guys, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Surges,
Burgess, yes.
Tepe.
Tepe, yes.
Move back to committee.
All right, Mr. Tepe, Ms. Molina has asked you to move that forward, please, from judicial. Did she?
Oh, I'm sorry.
You must not have seen the text.
Under judicial and public safety, there's an ordinance amending Kane County Code. Ordinance Article 2, Division 1, Section 12-6, with respect to inmate medical services reimbursement. I move that this go forward.
Sanchez seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Any discussion on this? Clerk, please call the roll.
Allen,
Allen, I.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Gums,
Gums, yes.
Caius,
Guys, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Surges,
Surges, yes.
Tepe.
Tepe, yes.
Passes.
Very good. Mr. Davos, please.
Thank you, Davis here. Blair, would you put page 3 on there for me?
I'm sorry. Let him go and then we'll go back to Cheryl.
Oh, do you need to,
No,
oh,
go right
public,
ahead,
I don't want to
please.
step on the toes of health.
No, it's all fine. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Transportation has 6 items. I would ask for a motion on all 6 of those,
Can-
or I'll move all 6. How about, and I'll ask for a second.
Gums will second.
Very good. Thank
Thank
you.
you. First one is our approving adopt a highway. I think we have 3 new applicants and 2 renewals. Next, if you want to just stay on page 3, there's just the bullet point page there. I can read them from that more easily. I did not print it out, saving ink and paper here. Resolution 2 is engineering services agreement with Peralta Clark. This is the Fabian Parkway and Settlers Hill, Kingsland Drive location. Item 3, Bluff City Materials. This is the soil remediation we talked about at Long Meadow Parkway. Item 4 is Huff and Huff, who are the environmental engineers that will help supervise the efforts of the Bluff City Materials folks. Item 5 is construction with Northern Contracting of Sycamore for guardrails. And number 6, Curran Contracting of Crystal Lake. This is for the Doberman Road extension. Any questions? I can try to answer them, and we have Carl and Tom both available.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Allen,
Allen, I.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Gums,
Gums, yes.
Caius, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Surges,
Sturgis, yes.
Pepe.
Pepe, yes.
Passes.
Passes. Last but not least, certainly the Health Department.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have one resolution today, and it is authorizing the limitation of liability and indemnification of language interpretation services.
Sanchez seconds.
Thank you.
Any comments? Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Allen,
Allen, I.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Gums,
Gums, yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Surges,
Sturgis, yes.
Pepe.
Pepe, yes.
Passes.
Motion passes. All right, well, we're going to have another discussion. So Mr. Iqbal, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is from the ad hoc committee. It's called Ad hoc Committee, Ad hoc Open Meeting Act Committee. So this was formed maybe a month or so ago, and we had one meeting. It was a long working meeting in which not only the members, but also many other board members participated, and we came up with a draft. This was before the May 11th announcement was made by the governor and the president. After May 11th, there would be no disaster era. We will go back to pre-COVID. And this resolution addresses exactly that. We go back to pre-COVID, but it also provides guidelines and how to attend the meeting through video or audio if you are not available to be here in person.
So I believe we have this is an introduction to this to move on to
For the, I believe it is part of the packet. So we had one meeting talking about ad hoc committees. I don't think we need another meeting, and we are done with our task.
Yes, this is just simply an introduction, and it's going on to the county board for next month for your consideration.
Meaning we're not voting on it today? Or we
Ju-
are?
It's an introduction too.
Okay.
So it'll be changing the rules of order.
So we're voting to send it to.
Just, I believe we are getting your consensus is just as an introduction, that you accept the resolution. And it'll be discussed again during the executive committee next month, because this is just, we're introducing it. It has to sit because we're changing rules of order from what it was previously.
Oh, so we have to table it until the next,
Yes.
open it here and then,
Correct. That is
Got it.
exactly correct. And I miss not having one of our ASAs here. I've noticed the absence greatly.
Steve
There's a
Ford's here.
whole, oh, Steve, there you are. Thank you. I didn't see you in the back.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Steve Ford from the State Attorney's Office. Yeah, the provision of the county code that Madam Chair is referencing is section
Mike,
two
please.
fifty-two.
Microphone.
Get real close to that mic.
The provision that Madam Chair is referencing in the county code is section 252, which provides that no amendment shall be made to this division, which is the rules of order, without the consent of the majority of the total membership of the county board, nor on the day of introduction of the same. So the full county board wouldn't be able to vote on this at next week's meeting. It would have to be at next month's meeting.
So everybody understand? So does this executive committee who is in charge of this approve this? Mr. Sanchez?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to make a comment. I know the video is available for people to watch, but at the meeting, it was discussed that there are, state statute that guides this kind of attendance, and we can't open that up more. We can't loosen those restrictions. We can only make the restrictions more defined, and that's where the text of this comes from in large part. So it's really, there's only so much we can do. And I think things like including having your microphone muted, that's a good addition that we've included in there. But otherwise, the general format, the reasons of why you can attend virtually, that's set by the state. We have no way to open that up, make
Not
it
at
more
all.
flexible.
Not at all.
So.
We'd have to lobby the state to make those changes. But what is new is that we are allowing video, Zoom, to be used for attendance
Or audio.
or audio. But audio was allowed previously.
Okay.
And at GUMS, they are at the state level working on this fix, so.
Good. Well, until we get.
To address remote meetings, because as everybody at every level of government and throughout corporate America has realized that this is something new, and utilizing it is either an obstacle or a benefit, depending on how you want to look at it, but they are addressing it.
Madam Chair, I had a question for a state's
Yes,
attorney.
Absolutely.
Steve, do you know if is it implied that these provisions take effect once the emergency declaration is completed, or should we have something specific in the language here that says this takes effect upon that completion?
So my understanding is the proposed language is generally consistent with Section 7 of the Open Meetings Act, which within Section 7, there's a separate provision regarding what happens during a disaster declaration. So this, again, my understanding, this would govern the county board's general practice as to remote meetings. And then if there were a situation in the future where there was another public health disaster declaration, which is referenced in this, then that would kick in the additional procedures for operating that are also referenced in OMA. So Mr. Sanchez, to your question, I think this is more of just setting the general practice, and it would apply when the disaster declaration goes away. And I don't necessarily think that needs to be specified. I do have one note, Madam Chair.
Absolutely, Steve.
So as to this matter today, I think you have two options. You can do what you were considering doing, tabling for next month's exec and then moving that to county board. You could also move this to county board next week, and county board could table it for county board to consider next month.
I think that would be more expeditious, because if it goes to exec, it'll also have then go back to the county board and wait another month, and then we'd be into April.
Yeah. The key is just county board next week
Correct.
can't vote on it. They
Oh,
would have
no,
to
I
table it.
understand. It's just an introduction too,
Absolutely.
and that we can get it passed in March instead of having to wait until April. So everybody's in consensus, or any other questions about this? And then I will dissolve with many thanks the ad hoc committee once this is finalized and voted upon in March.
Madam Chair, do we need a motion and a second to move it forward, or are you simply going to place
I
it on
think-
the agenda?
We'll just place it on the agenda. If there's no other concerns, I think we can just do it by consensus. Everybody agree? Very good. Thank you. And Steve, if you're going to be representing us from now on, just do me a favor. Could you join us at the table? Thank you. So you're not hidden back there. You're a member of the family now. Thank you. All right, and just before we even move forward on that, I believe this could have been implemented sooner once the vote, the board would vote on it. But because I'd like to follow the guidelines set forth by the federal government and the state, we're just going to follow that. So this will take place on May 11th. It'll kick in. So until then, this board is able to come in via Zoom as we have been doing for the last 2 years with no change. So we're just following their lead. All right, thank you. Mr. Davis, you're next.
Well, speaking of federal government, we're going to ask them for a big chunk of money through a grant in this, in the RAISE program. These are very competitive, but we've got a project that's, been identified as having regional importance. So fingers crossed that that they'll view this favorably, and we'll gladly accept. I think somewhere in the range of as much as $25 million from them, if I remember
That's
properly.
correct. That's correct.
So I will
Comes-
gladly
comes-
move this to, allow us to move forward with going for this grant.
And Ms. Combs, you want a
I'll
second?
second that. I have a question.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Should we be reaching out, Mark, to folks to help us get this?
Why don't we bring Mr. Rickard up?
That's good. My initial response is, any help would be welcome, but let Tom, the expert, address it.
Yes, we are reaching out to our legislative representatives at the federal level, and we are getting letters of support for the project.
So would resolution from the legislative committee be beneficial as well?
Well, we have to submit this by February 28th,
okay.
and that's the reason why we're asking for this special favor of getting it on the county board agenda so that we can submit the application.
Excellent. Thank you.
Good. Are there any other questions?
Absolutely, yes.
Too late. I'm always too late.
Very good. Clerk, please call the roll.
Allen,
Allen, I.
Bates,
Bates, aye.
Berman,
Yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Gums,
Comes, yes.
Caius,
Yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Surges,
Burgess, yes.
Pepe.
Happy, yes.
Passes. Wonderful. There's no need for executive session. Now, are there any committee reports?
Comes.
Yes, Ms. Combs.
I'm not sure if everybody's been paying attention, but as it pertains to the, how's that? Can you hear me now? Better? All right, just for you. The Fifth Circuit, the Federal Fifth Circuit has made a ruling as it pertains to orders of protection and domestic violence offenders. And they ruled that now, if you are a domestic violence offender, it is unconstitutional for the government to remove your guns.
Saw that.
It is problematic. It also has some implications to circumvent the red flag laws. So everybody might want to take a look at that because it is extremely problematic. I know the Second Amendment right now is a big issue. Collectively, I think most humans don't want guns to be in the possession of a violent domestic offender, but the Fifth Circuit has ruled that that's not constitutional.
What are the next steps for that?
It'll progress through the appellate court. And we'll see what happens, but
Very good. Okay. All righty. Thank
And
you.
really quick, I will just add that the Fifth Circuit cited for their dissent or for their objection was that it's not historical. So they use this argument that historically people have not been restricted. So that's why they said it was unconstitutional, because it's not in history from like 1780, whatever it was, which is completely ridiculous. So
1781, I think, or 82.
1789, I think it is, yeah.
1700s. Perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
just saying.
Is there anything else? Ms. Gums?
No,
Okay,
no, that's
okay.
it.
Madam Chair, just to continue to beat a horse to death here today. I just sent an email out just to this executive committee on the one item we're sending back to committee regarding the romantic language. And just asking everybody to read this a little bit further. It is specific to a situation where a person may be in a position to derive personal benefit from actions or decisions made in their official capacity. That in that situation, if they have a romantic relationship and they're a decision maker on a project or money or purchase, that it needs to be, that it should be, we're suggesting it should be identified. So if we could, I think the committee looked at this pretty overarching. That was not the intent. The intent was very specific. I included just that resolution and the language to everybody here. And if you could just respond, not reply all, but just reply individually. This way we could focus the questions back to the state's attorney's office in a more productive manner.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for that. Yes. Em.
Just to make sure that dead horse doesn't ever rise again. I noticed that the word romantic is in quotations. I just don't think any word that has to be in quotation. I mean, what does that mean? Romantic. It's not defined. So sorry, you guys, back to the drawing board.
Welcome to the
Like
team.
it.
Was it Steve?
Another.
Yeah. Sorry, Steve. And romantic, what if that word were friendships? That could apply just as much. You know,
Well, I love
back
you all
to
the
the
time.
drawing board, please. What?
No, I say I love you
Doesn't
all the
sound
time
it.
too. Gums, I did have, Mavis, are you done? I'm sorry. Just one question that I did have as it pertains to that is, so when somebody notifies human resources that they are involved, I mean, should we go that direction? Is that private information? Like, let's assume that I have a relationship with Mavis and I don't want anybody on the planet to know that.
It's confidential.
Okay.
It's confidential. Yes.
Now it's out.
Now it's now I've, outed myself.
I don't want to go more into it.
Valentine, it's my favorite day of the year.
Please, all right, order, please. Order. Your head is going tizzy with romance, which is the
Sorry.
problem with romance and the joy of romance. Are there any other committee reports?
Report. I know you don't want to end this.
No, but hold,
riveting discussion.
hold on a second, sir. I'm gonna,
It's gotta
gonna-
go down and kiss.
I'm gonna put you on pause right now, please. Any other committee reports
I forgot one thing, Gums.
or thing?
Really quick, the semi-automatic weapons law has gone to litigation.
I'm
So
sorry, what law?
the semi-automatic weapon ban has gone to litigation. So there's a stay on that. Just.
Yes, it's several
Yeah.
states.
So
Is that a comment about this or?
Nope. It's something else.
Next time, please, everybody make notes, okay?
We have put the survey up on our website for the climate action implementation plan. So please, everybody, go to the survey, fill it out. We have over 400 responses already. We're shooting for 1,000. So I would love everybody in this room to please fill out the survey for the climate action plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hearing nothing else, Mr. Kenyon.
I move that we adjourn and digest the discussions.
Have a second.
Aye. All in favor, I have it to commend Carl with his riding outfit on, quite matching hat and jacket. Well done.